Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's album review, which we're going to be reviewing Beyonce's album, simply called Four. That's the name of the album, Four. It was chosen by, who was it who chose it? I chose it, didn't I?
You did indeed,
I chose
yeah.
it last Wednesday. So let's go ahead and, well, give you my views on it. So firstly, before I actually talk about the album, Beyonce is generally a singer that I quite like, but I think with Beyonce, you have to kind of have to split Beyonce into two. She's got her ballads, powerful ballads, and then she's got her more upbeat, sort of more than what you call them, poppy R&B type music as well. I think they're two very different things. And with me, I'm very much on the ballad side of things. So a lot of the sort of ballads, slower stuff she produces, I often tend to like, whereas the other stuff, the more upbeat stuff, I generally don't like. So that's the kind of artist I think she is. So regarding this particular album, yeah, I wasn't overly in love with it. I thought, again, it's very mixed, probably based on the fact that some of the stuff were ballads, which I generally like more, and some of the stuff was more upbeat stuff, which I don't like. And I think there was more of that sort of stuff rather than the ballady stuff, if you see what I mean, which is probably why I wasn't overly keen on the album. But it was okay. Some of the songs were okay. We'll go through each song individually shortly. But yeah, for me, because of the artist, I sort of have an expectancy level. I'd say maybe a bit of a disappointing album. Whereas if this had been somebody who I didn't know, I'd go, oh, maybe, it's all right, this album. But because it's Beyonce, I just expect a little bit more maybe from her. I don't think this album has many of her real big hits on there. There are a few. So yeah, without kind of blabbering on, just a little bit disappointed, but there were still some okay songs on there. Right, over to you.
Okay. Yeah, so I do agree with you. You do have those two sides to Beyonce, her sort of slow ballad songs and her upbeat sort of songs. I didn't realise, and then you could sort of split that again into two, where you've almost got songs where she talks about, sort of empowerment, girl power, independency kind of thing, and then also other side where she talks about love and needing your man and stuff, which I didn't really think about too much there. So I think you've got a mixture of all those sort of elements within this whole album. And maybe the difference being, if your expectations maybe were a lot higher, like you knew Beyonce. Some of the stuff that I did know, I did quite like, and I do sway more towards the ballad side of Beyonce. And even though I've said before that obviously my partner, she really likes Beyonce, is one of her favorite artists. Don't think I had too much of a bearing on me. My expectations were probably quite low then. And as a result, I actually really like this album. I was actually quite surprised how much I really enjoyed it.
Can I just say, I'm not surprised.
I thought you might not say not surprised
that you like the album.
Yeah, but I'm surprised, well, because I thought maybe actually it'll be maybe like one or two songs I would like from Beyonce in the album, and then the rest just. But actually, I was very surprised. I know you probably don't think that's really weird. You think, oh, you're obviously going to like it. I don't know. As I said, I didn't know enough of Beyonce stuff, and even the stuff that I didn't know already of some of hers, I would never really always listened to it. It would never be such a, there was nothing wrong with it. I just was never a big fan of it. But after listening to this album, I would seriously consider buying this album. And if ever going road trips with my wife in the car, I'd be more than happy to play this album with them and keep her happy
So would it be fair to say that I've sort of helped to connect you closer to your wife? Because obviously I chose the album, so now you've really got something even more in common.
Yeah, to be honest, because when it comes to music, it's normally I normally like to have the sound of music and what we listen to in the car. We do find, mutual ground. It's not just all stuff I listen. It's stuff that we do like together. However, yeah, I think this is something that I'm more than happy to add with that there. So hope she doesn't watch this. I might buy it for her next birthday present or something, and actually could be more of a present.
Because I was going to ask about that. Have you discussed like this particular album with your wife? Has she listened to it? Does she know this album, and does she like it? If she does.
Yeah, she didn't know the album. She knew a lot of the songs from it. And I don't really like talking a lot of this stuff with her. She normally would just sort of nod her head and just go, okay, yeah. Doesn't really listen to a lot of what I'm saying when it comes to this sort of stuff. However, I did tell her I was listening to this, and I didn't want to speak to her too much before, because again, I didn't want to influence what I was going to listen in case she knew the album or knew a lot of the songs. And it wasn't until I finished listening to it, I said, oh, I listened to this, and actually, I'm pleasantly surprised. I actually really, really enjoyed the album. And she asked which one. She didn't know it. I got to listen to it in her own time as well. And she went, oh, actually, yeah, I quite enjoy. There's quite a lot of songs there that she enjoyed as well.
So maybe the fact she doesn't know the album suggests that, as I said earlier, like it doesn't have the big hits on it. Maybe this wasn't like a real one of her more sort of well-known albums. I mean, obviously it's well-known, but maybe not as well-known as some of the others, perhaps.
Yeah, it's a strange one, because like I said, when first there was only sort of 2 songs that I recognised by name. Once we listen to them and go through it, there's then a couple others I did recognise. But I think in terms of when people say Beyonce's big hits and songs, I don't think a lot of these would probably get mentioned. But like I said, I think a few of these did probably get released. But like I said, I think for us who are, novices when it comes to this sort of stuff, it wouldn't be the first sort of songs we would ever really sort of think about from there.
Okay, so let's go through each song then. So the first one was 1+1. I put down as powerful ballad, but it wasn't really. Wasn't really lively enough for me to like it. It was almost too ballady. It was like never really got going at all. Even though like the voice was strong on it, I just found it a little bit lackluster, maybe a bit boring, and yeah, just lacking something for me to actually like it.
Yeah, really strange. So now we always seem to touch on these a few times about, songs are first on the album, last on the album, and really doesn't make too much of a difference. But I can't agree with this. I mean, again, I recognize the song. I do really like the song, but it was strange as sort of the first opening song. And again, it shouldn't really make much of a difference, but it kind of did in a way. Like I said, I did quite enjoy. Again, rather than previous albums, I've sort of done like a grading system. So I did give this an A. There are a couple of sort of A pluses that we will get onto. But yeah, just a slow, powerful, good ballad song. It was just unusual to be at the start of the album. I think that's probably what let it down a little bit.
Okay. So yeah, I wanted it to kind of liven up a little bit. That was kind of what I was thinking, which it did in the next song, which was called I Care. So I put more lively, but I just didn't like it. I wrote down rude and rough sounding, and I think that's why I don't like Beyonce's more kind of upbeat songs. I think that's how they come across. It's almost like shouting when she sings in a way. It just, I don't know, it's very hard to explain. Like rude and rough sounding is what I've put, and the style of those types of songs just not for me.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying. That's also probably why sometimes I think you do, again, it is, very much music to be listened to a club or in a gym, something where, for me personally, I find it weird for some of her big songs where you would sit down and sort of listen in a relaxing environment. You need to be sort of doing something uplifting or upbeating to appreciate that. But this one, again, I liked it. It did seem more like a power ballad, but what I quite liked about it was that it wasn't very Beyonce. I wrote here there's also, like from Freeman, a bit of like sort of a rock style guitar riff bit, which I wasn't really expecting as well. And it reminded me particularly of like sort of Genesis from the early 90s, which I know is going to be a bit of an obscure reference for some people to listen to, but I actually really quite liked it. I think it was something a little bit different than what I was expecting of a Beyonce song, really. So I gave it sort of an A stroke B plus.
Okay. The next song was I Miss You. I preferred this one. I thought it was a nicer sounding song. So this didn't have that kind of rude and rough element to it. It was it's just a nicer sounding song, the way she was singing. And I just put the songs are improving. You know, I didn't like the first song too much. Second song, a bit better. The third song, I thought, so I Miss You, I thought has been the best so far out of the three. I still say it was not enough for me to want to put it onto a playlist, but it's more my sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with what you're saying there. I've actually decided I would put this on my playlist. And it's weird. So it's like very similar to the first couple of songs. It's almost like the first song was almost like a ballad where it was pretty much, she could have just been her singing. There's probably little background music to that, or it could have literally just been her. Whilst the second one had a bit more sort of background music. I say it had that rock elements there. Whilst this one is almost a nice blend between the two. Her good singing and just a little bit of background music, but enough to not take away from her singing or be overpowering. Yeah. So it's almost like a really good mix of those first two songs. So that's why I sort of preferred that one over the first two.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say, maybe if I listen to it again, which I will listen to this album again, because when we do the ranking video, so potentially it might grow on me, that one. I may end up downloading it, but on that first listen, decent, but I'll leave it at that. Yeah. Next song, Best Thing I Never Had. So when we were looking at the album on Wednesday, just quickly going through the songs, I remember we were talking about there doesn't seem to be too many big hits on here. Best Thing I Never Had did stand out for me, but I wasn't sure if it was if I was confusing it just with the lyrics of another song, if that makes sense, rather than it being the song I thought it was. But yeah, it came on and knew it straight away. I've had this song on my playlists in the past before. It is one of the Beyonce songs that I like. I'd say probably not one of my favorites of hers, but it is a good song that I do like. And yeah, I will definitely put this one on my playlist. So yeah, I like this one.
Yeah, I also really like this one as well. Again, it's a song I did recognise and heard a few times, just never recognised it by the title. And again, it's interesting because previous songs I had liked of Beyonce's were Halo and If I Were a Boy, which had that same sort of feeling to this one here. I think I actually prefer this one to those songs particularly. And again, it kind of reminds me of the songs we've just been listening to, but it was almost like a more commercialized pop, that more one designed to be as a hit release, whilst the others maybe were a bit more experimental, a bit more raw, something, I don't know. But I couldn't help but listen to it. I'm questioning whether I will put it onto my playlist. But I did give it an A grade, but I'm very tempted to almost put that into an A plus as well, because again, I do really quite like the song.
Okay. Party. Bad start, terrible song. I didn't even like the rap part. Normally I quite like a kind of rappy part. But with this one, it was just a terrible song for me. Terrible.
Yeah, this was probably my least favorite on the album. But again, at least give it credit, it was something a little bit different as well. It kind of had a sort of like a 80s, 90s R&B feel to it, which I quite liked. And no, previously we talked about rap parts as well, and this kind of would fit in for that. But again, it's an okay song for the album. Definitely wasn't one of my favorites, but again, at least there was a bit of a variety, a bit of a mixture within the album as well.
Okay. Rather Die Young. I didn't have much to say about this one. I just put down just bad.
Just bad.
Yeah, just bad. Didn't like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, so again, I've put here sort of another sort of like 80s, almost 70s R&B feel to this one. Again, it's obviously one of Beyonce's ballady type songs. But I don't know, the other ones, this one, especially the title, Rather Die Young, and I think the words are quite sort of powerful in this one as well, and you do kind of feel that from there. I think maybe with a ballad one is almost going a bit too far. I don't know quite what way. Bit too ballady, if that makes sense. Almost like it should be something a bit more private. It doesn't need to be released as a song, so to speak. Not that I'm saying she really would rather die young than not be in love with her partner, or partner not be in love with you, whatever it was about. Like I say, if it was a real truthful song, then I don't know, it just feels a bit too close to the heart, if that makes sense.
Okay.
That's probably why I lose there. Whilst you think with the other ones, I lose love, I get it, but with this one, I don't know, just maybe felt. Yeah, so I did give it a B. Don't think there was anything overly bad with it. I think maybe it was just a bit too close to the heart, should we say?
Okay. Next was Start Over. So not a bad start. Shouting style of singing, one of the better tracks. So if I'm totally honest, I don't remember the song off the top of my head, but again, it's probably one of those that I'd like to listen to again and see if that one grows on me. But I've noted down shouting style of singing. I think I mentioned that earlier with Beyonce. She does have that kind of, in a lot of her songs, that kind of shouting style to it. It's almost as if she's kind of shouting when she's singing. It's, I don't know like how much of a fan I am of that. But just something I think she does in her songs a lot of the time.
Yeah. I sort of it almost feels like a bit more sort of a classic. If you were to imagine Beyonce songs, this would probably what sort of be come up really. And so it's almost like starting over again based on the title. Again, just in very classic Beyonce there. I gave it a B plus. Yeah, I don't think there's much more I can say on that one really either.
Okay, Love on Top. Just a poor pop song, rather annoying. I found the song quite annoying, and I noted there was high voice. The singing on that particular song had quite high in notes going on, but not for me.
Yeah, I didn't mind this one. I quite like this one. I gave it sort of a B plus stroke A. Again, really reminded me of sort of real old style R&B, but more of a poppy style, and like I said, more like a pop song there. I've also written the name here, Mariah Carey. It felt like a very Mariah Carey song.
Well, Mariah Carey has also sort of got that sort of high voice kind of thing going on. So maybe
very much so. Or I think it could be a really good sort of boy band song, because it's almost as her singing in other bits of it as well. And I think actually, this is like she's sort of boy band song, I think it'd be quite good. But for Beyonce, was it? But again, I actually quite like the song. Had a good mixture over there, really.
Okay. Countdown. So I put down vaguely familiar. So I'm guessing it's maybe one of her release songs. Maybe Brett, you'll tell me in a moment. Not sure, but because it definitely seemed a bit familiar, not overly familiar, just vaguely. A bit better, but there were some strange things going on. I say strange things. The name of the song is Countdown, and there was an actual countdown going on during the song. So maybe it's not that strange. It actually makes sense, but I don't know. It's like it kind of broke up the song, the rhythm of the song, maybe the countdown bit, and just kind of made me think, I don't really like it actually. Yeah, so it's all right.
Yeah, so this was a release song. I know Dan actually only got to number 35 in the UK. It was one of her big, obviously, release songs from there. I actually really liked it again because I recognised it probably helped. So I did give it an A plus and would put it on my playlist. It is a very sort of shouty Beyonce song. A lot going on. It seems to be a real lot going on. You may have also recognised it because it was released and it does sample from Boys to Men. Now, whether you recognise it from that, I don't know. Normally, you would feel this would be like sort of the real experimental song on the album. And normally, I appreciate experimental songs, but never normally pick it because it's just an experimental song. But I actually really quite like it. Again, I think you've got to be in the right frame of mind to listen and enjoy it. Yeah, I don't know, just feels very upbeat, enjoyable song. So, what have I got even nice there? Yeah, and I quite like the countdown effect. A little bit different, how the song almost stops for that bit and then goes back into it. Just seems to be nicely done, really. So it gets onto my playlist.
Okay. End of Time was next. Just a lot of noise, rubbish. Really didn't like this one at all. Just not, just a rubbish, a totally, absolutely rubbish song. Nothing more to say on that.
Okay. Yeah, I liked it. I gave it an A. It almost like could have been just a continuation of the countdown song, and then even when we go on to Run the World, it all had that same sort of. I sort of put the words here mainly with also Run the World like cheerleader. It like feels like a real American. What cheerleaders would dance to at halftime games, at football matches and stuff. And again, I think because it was just a continuation of Countdown, I think if you're in the right mood, I think it just sort of enjoy back. And also get it that there's also not a lot to it. But yeah, I think it's one that you do sort of dances, lined up dances to there really.
I Was Here. Better start, nice ballad. Song could potentially grow on me. Wasn't expecting a ballad at this point in the album. So this was an interesting one. I did like this song. It's a potential, as I think I just mentioned there, didn't I? A potential, I didn't mention it, but it's a potential one that I could download after listening to it again. But the positioning of it in the album is really, for me, was really weird, especially bearing in mind the next song that's coming up, the last song, is completely different. I don't know, maybe because we've been listening previously to quite a few kind of more upbeat songs, for it to suddenly be a ballad, it seems strange. Then for the next song, the last song, to also be more upbeat. I don't know. I was reading about that as well on the song review. I think about the positioning of the song was a bit strange. So I think there was a previous album by Beyonce which had a lot of her big hits on it. Can't remember the name of it. It's from a few years earlier than this one, and it was like a two-sided two-sided album where the first half of the album was all her ballads and the second half was all her more upbeat stuff. But whereas obviously with this particular song on this album, it just kind of put in right near the end. And yeah, I'm questioning the positioning here, but it was a good song.
Yeah, same sort of thing there. It almost felt like we're going back to the start of the album. It's almost like listening to it on shuffle. And again, it's hard to criticize about positioning of songs and albums and stuff because I don't know about. For me personally, if I would generally say, well, I would generally put my sort of dancey upbeat ones right at the start, get them all out of the way there, and then especially when there's that, it's almost like half and half. You've got your upbeat ones and your ballad ones. Having them all the upbeat ones right at the start, and then the ballad ones at the end. And if you'd like a nice mix up, just press the shuffle button or play and never listen all you want to. But as I say, if it's designed to listen all the way through, it does seem a bit weird, and maybe it's just a nice to have a little break. But I also put the same sort of thing from there. But going back to the song itself, also read and saw it was influenced from the September 11th incident in America. Again, just a real powerful ballad, good song. So it's similar to the ones from the start. But again, I think I preferred the other ones in comparison to this one. Again, nothing really against it from there, really.
Okay. And the last song was Run the World, Girls in brackets. So I know, Brett, you mentioned this on Wednesday, that this was one of their release songs, and then I recognized it through the name. And yeah, it's a well-known song, but I think it's absolute trash. I really don't like this song at all. I really don't. It's just trashy, just the way I describe it. Look, I've said it before, I don't like Beyonce's more upbeat songs, probably with the exception of one of her old songs she did with Jay-Z. Can't remember the name of it.
Crazy in Love.
Yeah, I like that one. But other than that, I've never found a Beyonce song that's really upbeat, that I actually like. And yeah, really don't like this one.
Yeah, like I say again, like you do feel bad. I know obviously I've talked about Countdown, and for some reason I'm putting out my playlist, but it's just usual because I'm heard in different ways as well. This is a song obviously I did know. It never really is a favorite one of mine of Beyonce's. But whilst listening to the album, I sort of appreciate it a little bit more. Not enough for it to go into my playlist, not enough to be one of my top favorite Beyonce songs. I still don't overjoy it. I think it's like we talk about sometimes with certain songs are overplayed bit too much. For me, I feel like this one could have been one of those. I've sort of given it a B/B plus. I appreciate it on the album. Like I said, it fits in with the countdown song and the end of time song, and it fits in that sort of fits there. But definitely not a favourite Beyonce songs of mine.
Okay. So there we go. That's the end of our album review. So just to sum up, I suppose what could we say? For me,
Or before we get on there, are we going to do the bonus? Did you do the bonus track in the end?
you know what? I don't think I did. I think I've forgotten it.
Okay. Well, I'll just say a quick little story with that there. So it was funny. So on the album I was listening to, so she's got a special edition one where there was bonus tracks, but not the Japanese bonus song. So because I was doing some work whilst listening to this, it went on to the next song, which I was just assuming was going to be the next bonus song that we were going to be listening to, not really as a special one. And it came on. I actually really liked it. It was probably my favourite song, would have been on the album, potentially.
Well, what was it? Was it a song? Was it a bonus? It wasn't a bonus track.
Yeah, so it was a bonus. So she had a special edition album version where it had like, I think it was 3 other songs and then like a remix version of Run the World. And that first particular song on it, it was, again, I think you should go away and probably listen to that one. It's just an unusual, what you wouldn't think of a Beyonce song, kind of poppy, but kind of old school pop style as well. It was really hard to explain. I was listening, oh, this is actually really, and then I was a little disappointed because it wasn't the bonus track we said we were going to listen to. But I did listen to that one very quickly, and it's just a slowish sort of ballad kind of song. But I think you'll probably find something. I don't think it's as good as the other ones on there, really.
Well, I think that makes up for the fact that there was an album, in that really long dancey album we had, and I was listening to the actual proper thing we were supposed to be listening to, the full album with like 10-minute long tracks, and you were doing some rates. I don't know, some shorter 3-minute versions. I think that makes up for it.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. But on that note, I would say I think you should probably. I'll send it to you. Give that one a listen to and see what you think. Maybe we could do as sort of a bonus material if anyone wants to hear our send a view on that. They can do potentially.
All right. So summing up then, for me, without the bonus track, I didn't hear it. Yeah, a little bit disappointed maybe. You know, it is Beyonce. Don't know, just kind of have more higher expectancy level. But saying that, the best thing I ever had. It's a good song, and there are a few other nice ballads on there that I could potentially want to download. So yeah, not too bad, just a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, and I think the opposite to me, like I said, I think because I had those low expectations, actually quite pleased with the album, quite surprised. Again, like I said, so I think surprised how much or how many of the songs I did enjoy. Like I said, I was expecting probably like 1 or 2, probably the ones I knew potentially, but I was surprised actually the amount of songs I did enjoy from the album. And I'm a little gutted because, again, I think when we do these 10 or top 10 at the end, I'm struggling big time. I'm in trouble. I'm in serious trouble here.
There's gonna be some, like, for you anyway, some probably really decent albums you're gonna have to put like down in 5th and 6th place.
Unbelievable, yeah, it really will do.
Because I think at the time it was the Beatles. When it came up, you're like, they're gonna be number 1. But
it's been like every album sort of come up.
But yeah,
that's gonna be number 1. Oh, actually, you know what? This next one, that could actually be number 1. Yeah, I'm not gonna give too much away because, again, I don't at this point. Again, like you, I am gonna listen to all of these again. And I said the difference between not, thinking too much into the tracks and trying to see if I can overall how I feel from it. And there might be some surprises, might not, I don't know. But yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not looking forward to doing my top 10 at this stage.
Okay, well, we're almost at the top 10, the next 10, not long to go now. So something to look forward to there. So there we go. That's the end of today's review. Hope you enjoyed it. See you on Wednesday for the next album pick. See you guys.